Hey guys, Lynn Marie here, your quitting evangelist, coming to you with this week's quit of the week. It is quitting regret, and I'm specifically coming to you from my floor to point out something about regret. I have two little regret involving stories, and by the way, it's not quitting regrets, like, oh, you regretted quitting. This is quitting regret. There's not like a way I could punctuate that any differently, I don't think. But anyway, first story is this little rug that I'm sitting on now. I got it in 2015 when I was in Venice and I had hardwood floors. And as you've probably heard my story, I lived in Venice a whopping 5 months. And I think I bought this rug like 3 months into it. And this was not like a Craigslist purchase. Now it's not like $1,000 rug or something, like really expensive, but it was purchased new, and I put a lot of time into finding it. I couldn't just Amazon it, like there was nothing that good on Amazon, so I went through this special place, whatever. Took some effort and a little bit of money to get this rug that I ended up using for 2 months at the most. And then I moved to San Diego, where I had carpet in every place I lived for 4 years. And that 4 years, it sat in my storage facility. And every time I would look at it, there would be this little pang that is probably reminiscent most of regret. Of like, oh, I can't believe I spent that time and that money, trying to find this rug, and I used it for like 2 months. Every time I looked at it, but I didn't give it away. Because it was like a sunk cost that I was not really like, okay, maybe someday this will be useful. Who knows? I'm just gonna hang on to it. I cannot, there's something inside me that will not let it go. And then I move into this house, and there are hardwood floors. And I thought, wow, I have that rug. And I laid it down, and if I touch this thing, I'm sure everything will just fall. But if you can see, it matches everything perfectly. Like as if this rug were, the dimensions are perfect for the room. Like everything about this rug is 1000% perfect for this house. So, and you can just jump on in the comments when you get where I'm going with this, but I will tell another story just for fun. Back before I was a lawyer or a doctor, I was a multimedia designer, which some of you know. I was not great at it, but I learned a lot of basic skills. Like I can do Photoshop better than just an average person who's never been trained in Photoshop, and I can do video editing. Lots of skills like that, media type skills. That was my first, media was my bachelor degree, and then I was in grad school for interactive multimedia. And then when I went into medicine, the overwhelming thought was, well, there are skills you're never going to use again. And then, 10 years go by, haven't used them, 15 years go by. Well, I remember in 2017 when I was hired to start doing some nonpartisan political social media, all of a sudden I had to use Photoshop again, and I was editing videos again. And then, as you probably know, if you know me at all, I do my own graphics for Quitting by Design, and I edit my own videos. And I distinctly remember my mom, back in 2017 when I was hired to do that, she says, 20 years later, you finally get to use that undergraduate degree. And I laughed because I thought, yeah, that has been sitting dormant forever, and I probably thought I would never use it again. And that's the kind of thing that often people would think, oh man, I sunk time or money in this thing, and now it's useless, and I regret that I did it. But 20 years later, it becomes useful. So there's that whole hindsight is 20/20 thing. Man, it could be decades before you realize that a thing that you've done, it can now be useful. This little rug, it only took me 4 years to reuse it again. But the moral of both stories is that things that you may regret having gone through, or that you think, oh, I did this and there is no value to it for me now, they may have a role somewhere in the future, or they may have a role that is just under the surface of where you can see it. Like if you're thinking, man, that relationship that I was in, I regret that relationship. I wasted time. And you may not realize it though, but maybe the next decision you make, relationship based, you make a better decision because of maybe just your subconscious has picked up, okay, that person I was in the last relationship with, we butted heads because he or she was this sort of person. When you meet that sort of person again, you realize, maybe at least at a subconscious level, I don't think we're going to jive so well together. And just that piece of knowledge helping you make a better decision in the future means that that other time or money you spent wasn't a waste, and hopefully should not be. I don't want to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, but is less deserving of your regret, since it at some point has become useful for you. So where can you picture this in your own life? Something that you thought, man, I'm never going to do that skill again. Why did I bother learning that skill? Or why did I hang out with that person for so long? And then later something comes up, even something like, with all this Marie Kondoing people are doing, I have not done that. I moved, so that just naturally will do that. But, even just with things you might have that brought you joy at some point, and you're like, oh, but that hasn't brought me joy in 20 years, and you can pull it back out and find a new use for it, well, then maybe there's no reason to regret having spent what you have deemed as too much money on that thing at the time. So if you are in a situation where you're thinking of quitting a thing and you're afraid that you will regret whatever you have left, like you will have regrets about it, I get questions about regret all the time. I think people think that if they leave a thing, if they quit a thing, they're going to have regret about that thing. You probably already have regret about that thing, except for now you have regret about the thing and the friction of you being in the thing that you shouldn't be in, right? Realize that staying in the thing doesn't mean you're not going to have regret. You're probably just super regretful you got into the thing if you now feel stuck in it, right? So if you quit and you find a way to not have regret, then you're not only free of regret, but you're free of being stuck in the thing. I'm hoping this makes sense. In my brain, it makes a ton of sense, and I'm following my own mental train, but you guys let me know in the comments if this train has gone way off the rails. But I'm hoping you get my point, is that you should only, I'll take that out, I'm trying. There's only reason for quote unquote regret if there's nothing you've ever learned from a thing and you will never ever use it again. And if you look in your life, that's so rarely going to be the case, even if it takes you 4 years or 20 years to realize that it's useful again. All right, that's all I've got for this week. Little news break. I just finished recording Doug Nickel, former National League pitcher for the Phillies and the Cardinals. So for those who have requested a professional athlete quit, it is coming. It is also an incredible episode because he went from okay, I did baseball, to being the best person to explain strategic. I could have just sat back and he could have done the interview himself. He's such a good strategic quitter. It was a delight. But anyway, if y'all have anything you'd like me to discuss on a quit of the week, let me know. Or if you want more one-on-one attention, go over to Quitopia, the Facebook group for all things strategic quitting, and check out this week's episode with Amrit Sandhu about quitting lying. It's very interesting. All right, you guys are the best. Until next week, happy quitting.